Okay, this set of exercises in 7.2, number 2, page 315, there we go. They're a little bit more difficult in that you have two curves there. You have two quadratics, so that when they would be graphed, you would end up with two parabolas that either intersect or they don't intersect, or they intersect in only one spot. As an example, we've got one of these four situations, and you have to figure out not only which of the four, but also if there is an intersection, where is it? And if there's more than one intersection, where are they? So, for example, we'll try H, and H has this, and we're going to follow the same set of steps that we've followed the whole way through. This is H here. We're going to get Y alone, and then we're going to collect the X parts. And then we're going to solve for X. And we've got a number of tools to do that. If we can't factor, we're going to use the quadratic formula. We're not going to mess around. And then we're going to determine Y by plugging X into either of these formulas. If you've done it correctly, it doesn't matter which one you plug it into. And if you want to check your work, you plug it into both of them. So let's start by getting Y by itself. Getting Y by itself. This will be step 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So step 1, getting Y by itself. First I find my pen. There we go. So in the first one, that's easy. We'll move X squared to the other side and we see Y equals X squared. We've just added X squared to both sides in this equation. For the second one, in order to get Y by itself, we're going to subtract X squared from both sides and add 2X to both sides, and that'll leave Y by itself and put the rest of the crap over here. So we have Y equals, remember we're subtracting X squared from both sides, we're adding 2X to both sides, and 6 was sitting there by itself. Alright, so now we've got our two descriptions of Y. So get Y alone, done. Collect the X parts. So this, let's find another color here. That's Y, that's Y. So they must both be Y, so they must both be equal to each other. So X squared equals negative X squared plus 2X plus 6. And so if we do a little bit of messing about, let's move the X squared to the other side. We got 0 equals, we're subtracting X squared from both sides, so minus 2X squared plus 2X plus 6. That looks complicated. Let's divide the whole thing by negative 2. So 0 equals X squared. That divided by negative 2 is negative X. That divided by negative 2 is negative 3. So this is the equation that we're left with for X, and now we need to solve for X, and unfortunately we can't. So we've done this part, we've done that part. Well, actually we haven't done that part yet. We have to figure out how to solve for X in this monstrous equation. So it looks like we're going to have to use the old quadratic equation. That's 4AC over 2A. Now, let's take a look at the determinant as usual, just to make sure this is possible. We want to make sure the determinant is positive. So b squared, negative 1 squared is 1. 1 minus 4ac. You know what? Let's just write that out. Let's just write this out. Negative b, so that's negative negative 1. That's 1 plus or minus root b squared is 1. So negative 1 squared is 1 minus 4 times 1 is 4 times negative 3 is 4 times negative 3 is negative 12 over 2 times a is 2. It's starting to look familiar. So the determinant here is 13. 1 minus minus 12 is actually 13. So it's a positive number. There are going to be two solutions, which is fine. So it's 1 plus or minus root 13 over 2. Now that or my solution for X. If that's my solution for X, I can write that out here. I'm going to write my solutions down here. 1 plus root 13 over 2 and something else. And 1 minus root 13 over 2, and something else. So these are my two x values. Now I need to plug the x values into one of these equations to determine an x. I'd like to use this one. That's the easiest one. This one's a great big mess. If I'm going to have to square one of these ugly things, I might as well just square it and find out why. So if I square this one, I've got the corresponding y, and if I square this one, I'll get the corresponding y. Now remember, whenever you're multiplying a fraction by another fraction, it's just the fraction times the fraction. And we multiply right across. So this is for my first one here. I multiply right across, and I multiply right across. So the answer, 2 times 2 is 4. That was the easy part. The top part, I'm going to have to FOIL it. First, outside, inside, last. So the 1 times 1 is 1. Outside, 1 times root 13 is root 13. Inside is root 13. And last, root 13 times root 13 equals 13. So that is 1 plus 13 is 14, and there's 2 root 13, so 14 plus 2 root 13 over 4, which also equals 7 plus root 13 over 2. So that must be my answer, where I have this is my x, that's my y. That is ugly, but it has to be done. Same deal down here, 1 minus root 13 over 2, so if I square that, remember the reason I'm squaring this is that in this equation, y equals x squared. So if I've got an x, I can square it to get y. So if I square this value, 1 minus root 13 over 2 times 1 minus root 13 over 2 equals something. Well, 2 times 2 is 4 again. 1 times 1 is 1. Negative root 13 times 1 is negative root 13. Negative root 13 times 1, negative root 13. Negative root 13 times negative root 13 is 13. So that, let's simplify that again. 1 plus 13 is 14 minus 2 root 13 over 4, which also equals 7 minus root 13 over 2. 7 minus root 13 over 2. And that is your answer. The nightmare is over. You can wake up.